And when you think, when you're a kid, maybe the first person or the first real important character lesson you ever had, something that sticks with you to this day, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
What's the first thing that comes to mind to me? Well, I'm going to tell this story that when I was growing up in high school, I guess I didn't know what my first name, what it really was. I went to high school, my name was Dennis. And I went in the Army at 17. And if anybody's been in the Army, you know when the drill instructor starts to call the very first roll. And the way they do that is they call your last name and you answer with your first name and middle initial. So I answered Dennis D. Well, the first person that impressed me in the military was that drill sergeant with this long silence. And he answers, he calls the last name again, and I call out my first name, Dennis D. And then he says, from then on, he said, the man that doesn't know what his first name is, my name is Drew, it always was. But that's not what I went to high school with. So you can imagine, in the day when they didn't have instantaneous communications like cell phones, I went all through basic training. I went to advanced infantry training, and I went to jump school, and they knew when I got there that I was the guy that did not know his. So I have to say that probably set the stage for me for my entire life, because I did more push-ups when I walked across the field at Fort Benning, Georgia, where they have the jump towers, and you're not really supposed to walk, you're supposed to run wherever you go. And I had a number, 115, and they say, number 115, the guy that doesn't know his name, drop wherever you are and give us 20. So that sergeant, I'll never forget that silence, what a silence can do to you. And so going through life telling people that don't be silenced because you scare the hell out of folks when you go that way. Say what you mean to say.
Excellent. So character lesson number one, remember your name.
Remember your name and never forget it. And even to this day, when someone calls me Dennis, I want to drop and do push-ups.
My next question is, we're not perfect, right? So sometimes we look at a finished product and think it has a certain beauty and amazingness to it, but I'm imagining that you might have a story or two from your youth where maybe you fell short of character. You fell short of those expectations of your parents or the drill sergeant who kind of built that into you. So are there any stories of a time you messed up? Because sometimes you can learn lessons from when things go wrong just as powerfully as when things go right. So are there any stories that come to mind to you for, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, this is the biggest I ever messed up?
You know, I think in my case, I'm trying to figure out the one that has the most impact. There were several.
This is an ongoing thing.
Because, you know, you can make mistakes when you get involved and do things and try and not avoid trying the hard things. And, you know, I was told always to try the most difficult thing, and that was possible. And a lot of times I didn't measure up. I failed. But I learned from failing, not that I've quit making mistakes by any means, but I maybe learned to achieve goals that were achievable in some cases within your abilities. You know, a lot of times we're pushed so hard to do things that it's just not possible for us to do. We all have our limitations, you know, and we all have those things that we excel in. And the old military strategy is avoid your weaknesses and capitalize on your strength. And I think going through life, we should identify what we can do best. I know everybody says, oh, you can do anything, just try. Well, yeah, you try and you find out you just can't, I can't keep a beat. Why would I want to play the piano, which my mother wanted me to do? But no, the bottom line is is we all make mistakes, and we don't let them get in our way to achieve, look for the things that we can do the most, make the most good for other people. And I just have to say that when I volunteered to go back to Vietnam, and I had the good fortune of leading a lot of draftees in combat. Average age was 18, just below 19, close to the age of a lot of the high schoolers in here. And they were, didn't know what they were there for. And I was worried about making the mistake when I assigned these dangerous missions that we went on. And you just, I know all of you that have been in combat know that when you have someone's life in your hands to get a mission done, that you've got to make the right decision. And you worry about it, it's a burden on you. But I look back on the times I failed, and I'm not going to fail these guys. I would never fail them. And so the takeaway is that try hard, identify what you can be good at, do it. If you didn't pass math, I don't think you're going to be a brain surgeon or something if you didn't pass chemistry or something, but do what you can do.
For all of you, and the reason you're on the stage today, you've had some pretty intense tests of your character and your bravery. You've faced some overwhelming, almost insurmountable odds at various times in your lives and in your service. And I think about our students and trying to connect to that idea, so they might not be, encountering an overwhelming enemy force at any point in their lives, but there's probably times where they feel overwhelmed by something that's coming at them, whether it's, I got 3 tests tomorrow, or I'm having a huge fight with my friend. How, when you get in the position where your character, where your bravery, where your integrity is being tested at the highest, most intense levels, how do you come through that? Do you have a story of what does it mean to be faced with that kind of intensity?
Everybody looks to Drew.
Well, I appreciate it. No, I think that's a very difficult question, actually, because people often ask, how were you able to do what you did? And simply looking back, when you realize that the situation, first of all, for the action for a Medal of Honor is not for how many enemy you kill or how successful you are on the battlefield, but saving someone's life at the risk of your life. And I think when it comes down to it, more people than not would be willing to do this same thing if it was clear to them that there was definitely life at risk. I mean, you're going to do what you have to do because that's what we do as human beings. We take care of each other. And to avoid that, somebody would be shirking their duties. I mean, we look at a situation where at one point you feel that you're the one that can pull it off. I don't know why that happens. It doesn't mean I'm better than anybody else. It's just in my view of the battlefield or the situation right then, I could take care of the situation. And at the time, didn't realize that what I was doing was all that different than what the other folks were doing to contribute to success of that battle. And in my case, I didn't know I was being recommended for the Medal of Honor, so I was pretty sure I just did my job. Didn't find out until many months later. But no, you can't put your finger on it without saying, I did it because I was brave. No, I did it because it needed to be done, and I'm sure that those that were with me would have done the same thing if it was in their, when they could see it through their vision that they could do it. But there is no way that I will stand up here and say, I'm that great. None of these people would say that. None of these recipients would say. They just did their job, and their job resulted in the saving of someone's life or several people's lives.
Hello, my name is Girish Masal. I am in 5th grade at Towers Elementary School. How many people have you saved, and how does it feel?
You know, there was 14 civilians, American civilians, and a couple Allied civilians was able to rescue during that battle. But how it made me feel at the time, I don't know if I felt the full value of being able to save someone that had mostly volunteered their services over there. But over the years, I get a letter from, in fact, the last was a phone call from a young girl from, or wasn't so young, I guess, but in the Philippines, and her father was one of the Filipinos that I rescued, and she said it was in the middle of the night, so I'm not sure where the phone call was coming, what the source of it and why, but she said, every Christmas, my father says, give thanks to God and give thanks to Drew Dix because you wouldn't be here. I never realized what that would mean, because in the middle of the night, I'm having this conversation and my wife is saying, well, what's wrong? I said, I just got this amazing phone call. It makes you feel good. So you never know how long or what the benefit is of helping somebody. And then I got a letter from somebody not long ago that lived in Boston up there, and he was one of the civilians, and I didn't even know him by name. And he's getting old. He obviously had some health issues, but he said, I want to make sure that I'm not sure if I live my life that was worthy of you risking your life to give me a second chance. And so those are powerful, powerful statements that you don't ask for, but it's the benefit that you get through your life that you look back on those kinds of things. So.
Hello, my name is Brendan French from Lawrence Middle School. And my question is directed toward Drew Dix. What is it? How do you feel when you were enlisted into the military?
I had a good home life, but I wanted out of home. I wanted to be on my own. And I felt this was a great opportunity for me to do that. I admired my father a lot. He was in World War II as a man in the infantry. And I just felt that I'm able now to start to, everyone looks for identity, and I was looking for mine. And I associated being in the military as the way to look for an identity. And I think everybody is looking for identity all the time. And I think you need to find out what it is that gives you that opportunity to demonstrate yourself, express yourself. Thanks for the question.
If you have one thing you want them to take away as they head back to school and in their communities and they look forward to the lives they had ahead of them, what's one piece that they should hold on to from what they've heard today? And I think we started.
I can start with that one. I think everybody knows the difference between right and wrong. And like on the battlefield, you make the right decision at a split second. If you think about a decision too long, you're considering the bad ones. So go for the right decision, stay the right course, and you'll do right in your life.
I think President Reagan were in the Reagan Library, would have been so incredibly honored to have all of you here and all of you here today. He, in an address to the Medal of Honor Society back in, I think, '83, aboard the Intrepid, he said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be both preserved and passed from one generation to the next. And so on behalf of all of us who are on our team here, all of us who are in the audience, we want to say thank you for doing your part, both to preserve it on the battlefield and to pass it on from one generation to the next through this work and through the work with students that you're doing today. So thank you very much. And please join me in thanking our panel today.